just going to say for this scenario, the nightmare scenario, step one, $6 gas in the United States. Step two, and it happens before the midterms. Step two is Trump then pulls the trigger. He doesn't taco out and bluff, Mario. He's going to be under enormous pressure to show he's doing something in the short term to get that to do something about this. And there's no deal where if gas gets to $6 here, there's no deal where you're getting that down to $3.10 or $3.50 before the midterm. This is going to be sticky up, okay? So he's going to be under great pressure to do the infrastructure attacks. And it's going to be because he's got to show something. So that's my step two in the nightmare scenario. Then it's step three, which is Iran pulls its trigger. But the trigger is not just infrastructure in the region. I think that's going to be more calibrated. I'm glad to talk to you if you want to know how I think Iran will actually think about retaliating in the region. I think it's not going to be just a broad brush. I think it'll be more calibrated. But the real step three that I'm concerned about is Minnesota 2. So I've been worrying about this for quite some time. I've been talking about the possibility of mass casualty attacks for some time. It was on my Diary of the CEO that came out a few weeks ago. Piers Morgan, I was on Piers a week ago, and he kind of called me out on it for a moment. Oh, you were predicting this, and it's been like 3 days. And I said, no, you just got to wait a little bit. Come on, Piers. This is unrealistic. I'm not giving you a poly market. I'm telling you stages of what's coming. And you recall, I became very concerned with you, Mario. We talked about this multiple times on your show about Iran's desire for revenge and the Supreme Leader's statements around the time of the funeral here. So this is what has led me to be, and I study terrorism for a living. So this is what has led me to start to raise the concerns about these events. And then what happened last week is, as best we can tell, and the New York Times story from July 29th is still the best information we have, it looks likely, according to U.S. intel, but it's not confirmed, that Iran carried out attacks against drinking water in Minnesota and elsewhere in the United States. Well, that is a brushback pitch for what could happen in the future. Now, we have been following the cyber issues with Iran and also Russia and also China and also North Korea. Those are the big four for over 10 years. So if you read the story says the reason our intel folks thinks it's Iran is not just because of the target set and the timing, it's because of the quote tradecraft. The word tradecraft is used in the piece. And that is a signal for the cyber fingerprints that each of these actors have developed for, and our intel would be doing this. So there is, anyway, but I'm saying step one is $6 gas. Step two is Trump pulls the trigger on infrastructure targeting, at least to some extent, in Iran. Step three is Iran retaliates, but it's not simply against the region and troops in the region. It's Minnesota. Now you've really got the possibility for actual ground operations in Iran. And there's because you're going to get if this scenario, I call it my nightmare scenario, what people are assuming is that the public, and I don't even mean a majority of the public, I'll define this even more, that the public is never going to think about supporting heavier escalation against Iran here. Now, I don't think you're going to get the Democrats to flip. In fact, I think what you'll end up with is a hardening of the lines, but you're going to get not just passive support for the war by the 33 or so % of the public who support the war, who are MAGA who support the war. I think that's going to shoot up rather dramatically in terms of intensity. I don't mean in terms of quantity. And I think this is the nightmare scenario that is just not being discussed. So we're assuming all these things could never move. Just as many people assumed in March and April that Iran would just want peace. They would never want revenge. That was, I know, because I was explaining they're going to want revenge. Oh, no, you don't understand, Professor Pape. They want to end the war. This revenge thing you're worrying about, you're over worrying. Politics plays an important role, and politics moves. And in war, politics often moves to make escalation more likely, not less likely.
So just to be clear, on the ground troops, you don't believe there'll be ground troops at the moment anymore? You don't think that that's going to be part of the escalation trap unless there's a mass casualty event or significant strike by the Iranians?
No, the word unless is too strong. Now, I understand you want like super, like if then that's too, the possibilities here, Mario, are more fluid than that, but they're all in the same direction. So I understand that people want to pin it down to like the 97th percentile of clarity. Wars just are not like that, Mario. So you're seeing stages. I'm showing you mechanisms as they come into engage. There are, ways to falsify this, absolutely. So if President Trump were to withdraw all 50,000 ground forces, U.S. troops and our carriers and our naval ships between now and the midterms or now in January, then my escalation trap is falsified. So it's not true that you can't falsify.
So I'll rephrase my question, sorry, quickly, Professor. What I meant is, do you still have the concern you had in the early days of our conversations that part of the escalation trap will include ground troops? Is that concern still there? Okay.
Yes. And I'm explaining the more detailed, I would say, nightmare scenario for how that happens, because now you're going to have a hard time, even though the Democrats won't love this, they're going to have a hard time if once Iran starts to punish Americans, especially in America, that's going to make it very tough here to stop this war. And it's going to be because right now, and I know because I'm on all the channels here, the Democrats, they just want to keep hearing that the problem here is only Trump. Iran is the good guys. They didn't start it, and they're not going to hurt anybody. So all we have to do is pull back and walk away. And Joe, this is also some people on the right think this as well. And I have, and it's not that I don't want them to be right. So this is not a matter of this would be the ideal world where we could just end this because Trump tacos out. The problem is Trump has tacoed 5 times at least. Some people say 9 times. Some people say I undercounted. And notice escalation has continued. So the fact that he's tacoing is not stopping the war. The fact is it's because of, number one, the trap element that's trapping President Trump that I've explained, but also Iran is initiating for power and revenge. They're not simply trying to say it's over. And a big part of the reason is they think strategically this is what's needed to reestablish what they call what is called deterrence. And very few realists, no realist I know worth their salt really disagrees with that. They don't want it to be true. They want to talk Iran out of it. But what that's doing is it's leading to estimates of the trajectory of where we're really at in this conflict.
So last time or the one before that we spoke, my biggest concern was direct conflict. As you know, my position, I don't think it will restart like it did in March. But my bigger worry is that it will move to a proxy war. And we've talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Now, my concern this time around is the change of the rules of engagement on the Iranian side. What I mean by this is the Iranians preemptively attack Jordan, preemptively attack Kuwait time and time again without responding to any American action, or at least not military action. The water infrastructure being the cyber attack on the water infrastructure in Minnesota is more of, I see it as a warning shot by Iran. You've also got the Houthis that have been activated. And what I believe, but this is speculative, I don't have any sources or any information, what I believe is an Iranian strike, Iran direct or through proxies or allies, on the 2 American ships in Egypt, again, as a warning.